last time I didn't know it, but I'm here now. So.
You know, Rush, what I'm curious about is, we were talking about this in the commercial break. You've been very strong in your opinions on this, and I wonder, what does a Rush Limbaugh do now? Does Rush Limbaugh back off? Does Rush Limbaugh... What is your thinking of what happened in the Republican Party tonight?
Well, actually, to me, the big story is on the Democrat side. I don't think this is unexpected on the Republican side.
I want to get to that, but I want to talk about this first if we can.
Sure, Shep, whatever you want. I don't think the Republican race is anywhere near over, as a Democrat race might be, because of what happened tonight. But, the Republican race has got a long way to go. Huckabee was perfectly positioned because of the makeup of the base in Iowa, but he's not going to have that kind of base in New Hampshire. He's got a strong McCain fight there, and he's not going to take on McCain. He was on the Tonight Show the other night. He's honored McCain. He's not going to be critical of McCain at all. And so it's at least if what he said last night and the way he's been handling himself about McCain up to now is any indication. But I think the Republican race is long to be decided.
Rush, it's Greta. Which candidate do you like and why?
I've stayed out of this up till now. I haven't chosen a candidate. I haven't picked one. I'm a rock-ribbed conservative, as everybody knows, and I don't think. Everybody's talking about they're Reagan this and they're Reagan that. I saw you guys earlier tonight asking Governor Huckabee about. I think Laura was asking him about his Reagan credentials. He doesn't have Reagan credentials. Very few of the Republicans do, and so it's sort of a circumstance where you're not going to get everything you want here because very few of the candidates come close. There's some that do, more so than others. But this election, made a prediction a long time ago. By the way, back on November 7th, I asked my audience to stop and consider what happens if Huckabee wins Iowa, because the conventional wisdom was that Romney was going to win. I also said, what happens if Hillary loses Iowa, the conventional wisdom that she was going to win. And this election is not going to be about Iraq. It's not going to be about the war. It's going to be about the future of the country. And if Obama is the nominee, it is going to be about issues, which it absolutely should be. It's not going to be about inevitability. It's not going to be personalities. It's not going to be about the Clintons being entitled or being inevitable. I think it's shaping up to be exciting because I think presidential elections ought to be about issues. They ought to be about ideas, and the ideas are going to be clearly contrastable if Obama's the nominee and whoever the Republican nominee is.
But Rush, isn't it true, though, that we, and I said, I'm not putting myself in your category, believe me, I'm smarter than that, but that some people out there, and I think I'm one of them, are missing the boat here about what people are feeling about Huckabee. I mean, I don't think he's a Reagan conservative on a lot of issues. I think he's really effective, and he's an interesting guy, and he's very smart. But I don't think he's a Reagan conservative. But people are really anxious about this economy, and they like how he's talking about the economy, and they like what they're hearing from him. And I think that is a cause of concern for Republicans, and obviously it's not over yet. But that's clearly a sentiment out there that I think a lot of people didn't predict.
Well, I haven't underestimated him at all. And I don't want to be repetitive, but it was back in early November that I started detecting an uptick in his movement in the polls, and I asked, what if he gets the nomination? Now, Governor Huckabee is you talk about people underestimating him and the angst that exists in the country. There was a Pew poll that came out on New Year's Eve. 84% of the people, Laura, are immensely satisfied, a clear majority, greatly satisfied with their lives. What is this angst? I think this angst is drive-by media made up. I don't think there's some out there, but it's not nearly as, if you're trying to talk my hearing, I don't mean to be talking over you if you're interrupting, but I think that the 70% of the same people say the country is going in the wrong direction. Now, how do you balance that? You have to balance it by what there is a trend in the news media today. We could get a story that there has been a cure for cancer, and it would have 4 experts saying it may be bad news. We can't rely on the good news. Good news is simply not allowed to happen in this country today based on current media trends, Fox News excluded, of course. And I don't think that there is this much angst individually. I think a lot of people think a lot of other people are hurting, the subprime crisis and all this, and these attitudes manifest themselves in the form of perception, sometimes equaling reality. But if you get down to brass tacks and talk to people individually, they're not hurting. 96% of the American people are paying their mortgages. We are not nearly as desolate, destitute. Edwards make the country sound like 19 1920s Louisiana tonight. Now Huckabee is, I think he's tapping in to a sentiment here that people just like a straight talker or somebody who appears to be, who is from outside Washington, who is outside the Beltway, who's not part of the political elites in Washington or in New York. He's making great hay with this New York-Washington axis comment. But this is all going to shake out. You're going to have many fewer candidates in these next debates, and that's going to clear a lot of things out. This has got a long way to go.
Rush, I got a question. It's Susan. How are you?
I'm fine. Is this Susan, did you say?
Yes, it is.
All right, Susan, you look great. I have to go.
Thank you, darling. What happens tomorrow when Mike Huckabee calls and tries to make up with you? You've been very critical of him in the past. You've been very tough on him. If I were Mike Huckabee tomorrow morning, I would call Rush Limbaugh and try to make nice to you and your audience. What do you do when that happens?
It isn't going to happen. This little thing that happened before Christmas with this blog that happened on the Atlantic Monthly with one of his advisors supposedly saying that, I'm not an independent thinker and I'm part of the D.C. New York axis and so forth. He was asked about it, and he said, well, I would love for Rush to call me. I don't have his number. I don't know how to get hold of him. And his campaign people in Arkansas know full well how to get hold of me, and he did last Sunday send me an email and say, the last thing I want to do is pick a fight with you. But he said something very interesting. Look, I don't know what was said, and I don't know who said it, so I can't respond to it. Well, it was 4 days after what was said. He has to know what was said, and he could have responded to it anyway. I don't think he will. I actually think that a portion of the Huckabee campaign doesn't mind the fact that some of us are opposing him. I think they think that it will help him with his base. So I wouldn't expect him to try to make peace.
Rush Limbaugh on the phone. Hey.